So let's begin by removing the back. I've seen a lot of screws in my life, but I've never seen a pentagon. That's a new shape. Well, I didn't have that, so instead I just used a very small flat head that was just the right width to fit in between the peaks, in between those corners, and I was able to get them out. Some of the screws are a little more tricky because they have blue Loctite on them or some kind of thread locker. There are no hidden screws. They are all in plain sight around the perimeter. Some of them are a little longer than others, but with a little work you'll get them off. It's really nice how everything in the back is black. The fan, the batteries, the motherboard, and even a lot of the connectors, and of course a lot of the components. It just looks very nice. 4 cells make up the battery, and they're held together in this unit here. So first you want to unplug the battery from the motherboard, and then remove these 4 screws in the center one, and that whole thing will just gently come out like that. It's amazing how thin these batteries are. I mean, some of this is just the plastic housing too. Now the hard drive is this unit right here, which looks similar to a RAM stick, but it's actually a special kind of solid state drive called a NVM. I believe it's an M.2, but you can see that this one is a 128 gigabyte solid state drive, Toshiba. This guy does have 1 screw right here, and I should point out that the screws on the outside were pentagons, but the screws on the inside are actually a 6-point star, which I did have that. Now, to remove the motherboard, there's quite a few screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a hidden one, which is not on the motherboard, but on this heat pipe. And it's actually hidden underneath some wires that run over top of it. That took a bit of time to find, but with that, you'll just have to wiggle these connectors. Just be gentle, because there's not a whole lot of room with this thing. But once you have that screw out, and also the fan, you might want to loosen all the screws on the fan. Give you some room to wiggle things back and forth. Motherboard will come out. So there's just a bunch of other cables. I didn't mention that, but you'll want to unplug the cables. Let me show you how these work. Oftentimes these ribbon cables, for example, well, they're kind of hit like this one. This ribbon cable, it's got like 10 contacts. Well, it went in here, and there's a little tab that flips upward, and it's actually behind. It's on the opposite side that the cable enters. So just get in there with a little screwdriver and just carefully lift that guy up, and then that will release this. You just give it a little tug and it'll come out. So yeah, take all your cables off the motherboard. These are the antenna wires. You can unsnap those too. But I mean, it's a pretty long wire, so you can take the motherboard out without doing that. These are all your RAM. They're not replaceable, so if the RAM fails, you know, just like if the CPU fails. So that is kind of what the motherboard looks like. I think the only replaceable things on this are probably the solid state drive, your Wi-Fi card, and of course the fan.